While the meta is heavily reroll dominated, a single conditional line along with its many variants has earned a top tier spot. My name is Boris, and today we will be looking at the Darkstar Flex. This is a comp that we generally wish to be playing from the Darkstar emblem, however there is also a variant you may approach without the emblem, so let's quickly run through our game plan. We would like to be playing this comp from a high tempo. Some of our units are going to be contested and we want to use the HP leverage in stage 4 to greed an econ engine and make it to level 9 by our god selection, that being 4/7/5/1. We are ideally playing around a Primordian opener with Cho'Gath and Kai'Sa is going to be the key unit that is going to lead us to level 9. Otherwise, we are fine to be playing also around some form of Ezreal and Cho board if we are not in a spot to reroll for that. While we are playing our strongest board, we want to be holding on to that Lissandra, Cho'Gath, Kai'Sa and Mordekaiser, as we do not want to be looking for them during our level 9 roll down. Once we make it to stage 4 with ideally more than 80 HP, we level to 8 on 4-2 and look for the units in our roll down flex section right here. We ideally wish to secure some form of a front line, as those units are generally heavily contested, and some form of an econ generation source. Bard is good, 3 Timebreaker with Riven is great. If we do not have bruiser items and are not playing in the Riven variation, still the 3 Timebreaker is going to be able to provide us with the econ influx. Otherwise we are fine to be playing around the Shepherd frontline as well. Then we level to 9 and are looking to play in either one of our variations. The reason why we must go to level 9 in most cases is so that we can secure that Jin 2, which is going to be our absolute cap, and we are flexible with capping around other 5-cost units as well. So let's quickly run through the variations. I've listed a small list here what we can be playing in. The default variation we're going to be playing around is the one around Bard. Bard is going to be a better AP carry than Karma, obviously once he's 2-starred. Other variations, if we have the Bruiser melee items, then we can play in this Riven variation and drop the Cho'Gath and play with Pantheon. And then we pick one of the Nunu or Mighty Mech. If we have a lot of attack speed items, then we can also play into the Xayah variation, plus we were looking for one of the stronger Stargazers. Boar is nice since it's quite strong at 3-piece. I would simply avoid Huntress, that being the weakest one. Altar if you have that, stack that, and obviously Mountain if you're not stacking yet. Then we are dropping these units right here. And in the worst case scenario, we can be playing around the Nami version. This is going to be a significantly weaker version, is generally something you can consider if you are stuck on level 8. I'm going to also splash up another board that you can be playing more along the AP flex lines, but this is your simply last ditch effort to save placements. Now the variants that we have right here, this is the Bard variant that we would be playing with the Bard carry, but do not be prioritizing AP items into this line, only if you must secure going for a win streak. Otherwise your main carries are still going to be Jhin and Kai'Sa as a duo, then Bard is just going to taking any form of leftover AP items that you are going to be getting from your later stage 5 anvils. Also we have a variant we can be playing in if we do not have an emblem. This Morgana here, this is going to be generally the highest cap with Morgana 2. Until then you're fine to be playing any form of a sniper unit that you're going to be moving around from your level 8 flex roll down, as Jhin likes that damage amp from there. This can also be a Mighty Mech if you need a little bit of more frontline. The Riven variant here is going to be focused around if you're slamming your items on something like the Briar in the early game. And then your Belveter is fine to be holding these items and you're going to transition onto a Kai'Sa as well. The Xayah variant playing around the Stargazers right there. You're fine to be attacking in the Shen, which is going to provide a nice aura buff for you. And the Nami variant, which is a default Darkstar variant alongside the other one. There is also a Kai'Sa reroll variant. If you're naturally a lot of copies of Kai'Sa and Illaoi, then you're also decent to be playing into that and realize that you need to be spiking earlier or not they're going to be make it to level 9. Other things that we're going to be noting here, Kai'Sa 2 is the key when you're carrying. She's going to be leading you to that level 9, she's going to be stronger than Jhin 1 as well. And I would be prioritizing her items. I would definitely not be prioritizing AP items unless I absolutely must be playing around that Literally Lissandra, as the AP lines currently, the ones that pushing level, are going to wanting to end up on some form of Vex board rather than in this board. Therefore, if you have an emblem, try to make either bruiser items or AD items. This comp is a burst centric comp. Our front line just needs to survive long enough If you're going past 2 Jin casts, you're most likely losing the fight. You want to be having as much upfront damage through your items and augments as possible. Therefore, augments such as Ascension or Soul Awakening are not great in this comp. We are playing from a tempo spot, therefore we are looking to be picking up the combat and item augments in the early game, which are going to be enabling us. And then on stage 4-2 we are fine to be picking an econ augment, as the board can get still quite expensive, and it can allow us to drop one of the potential econ engines and continue playing the strongest board throughout the stage 4. Regarding Kai'Sa herself, Shojin is not absolutely a must. She has the built-in reset mechanic where she gains 10 mana when getting a takedown. Therefore, simply having a front-loaded burst in here is also fine, and blue buff is generally a little bit better for her in the stats. At 2-star, she's going to be quite stable also on stage 4, as long as you have some form of a resemblance frontline. Otherwise, 2 Conduit is amazing for this comp, since it allows Jin to get to his cast only from 4 auto attacks rather than 5. That's going to significantly increase your DPS. Regarding positioning, black holes on the edges are not great. You want to be putting it more in the middle or in these A2, A6 slots, as in the sides they can get ignored by enemy front lines. Here they're going to be guaranteed to be blocking the pathing and interrupting the enemies. Blitz without 3 space group is actually not that great. He is a possibility you could be capping around still if you have something like a TG to toss on him. However, it's going to take a while for him to cast, and that's not exactly what we're looking for. Regarding our other emblems, and the priority with the Darkstar emblem, I would be playing into that Bard variant over Riven over Xayah variant. Other emblems, Sniper is amazing in this comp, can offer you that free Sniper and you just toss that onto Kai'Sa. Voyager is a fleet +1 as well. If we are seeing our Rogue or Timebreaker emblem, then we have a green light to be playing for Riven variant. And if we see a Stargazer emblem, we can be playing for Xayah. Otherwise, Bastion, Brawler and Vanguard, all the frontline members are quite flexible and you can adjust your frontline accordingly around one of those. Regarding our itemization, again, we do not want to be slamming that Rageblade, we do not want to be slamming scaling items such as Archangels and Gunblade, which is a sustain item. Rageblade is going to be forcing you playing into that Xayah line right away, and it does not provide damage for the Xayah, right? If you are forced to be slamming something like a Kraken, then I'm much more likely to be slamming the Rageblade. As a standalone item, that Rageblade is not that great on its own. And for our tanks, we itemize whichever tank, obviously we 2-star first. If we have a mana item, then the Nunu is going to take a little bit more priority. Otherwise, Tahm Kench is going to be a little bit stronger than the Mighty Mech. For our carry itemization, we want Infinity Edges. Jin and Kai'Sa best items are Infinity Edge. Our trait is going to provide us with the base stats, therefore we want to be critting hard as possible. Giant Slayer for a little bit more damage amp and the ability to burst through the tanks is amazing, and Death Blade is also another amazing pickup for the front loaded burst. For our last slots, we are fine to sort out our Sunder through there. Striker's Flail is going to be generally better on the Kai'Sa, since she is going to be able to ramp that up faster and then she can fill that last slot with blue buff. Jin is also fine to be holding the red buff. And our tanks are going to be holding the ulti, since their job is not to dragging out the fights completely, they are just there to stall long enough for us to burst down the enemies. For our augments, obviously the emblem augments are going to be great if we want to be committing to this line. Do not be forcing this line without an emblem augment. Go there only if you see that it's uncontested and you have the tempo. With an emblem you have a little bit more leeway, as you're able to get that 6 Darkstar or line a lot earlier. Otherwise, any form of burst augment such as hold the line that further empower our carries are great. Swordsmith for our items, Jeweled Lotus, so that we can just simply make even more AD centric items, bypassing that Infinity Edge. And another shout out should go out to Makeshift Arbor. This could allow us to completely ignore our frontline items, unless we just need to slam some form of utility, and fully load up our carries, and opening up the possibility for that AP damage front also through Karma and Bard a lot earlier. Lining up and boxing lessons are great, since our black holes are going to be counting for those as well. For the god selections, Ahri is amazing source of econ, since we are going to be utilizing our augment selections mostly on combat and items. She can completely bypass our necessity for econ, and with free rolls, if we are on Kai'Sa pair, do not be afraid to send it for Kai'Sa too. Aurelion Soul is amazing for providing stats or a potential extra emblem or anvil later on. Yasuo's shoutout should go out to the Storm Hex. That thing is absolutely nasty on Jin. She can just stun the whole boards for you with it. Echo is nice, since the anomaly on the tank is going to be the best item you can possibly get on a tank. and Varus is amazing at providing a little bit more sustain on your board, since the black holes count as 3 stars and are also going to be benefiting from him. As usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below, alongside the whole meta sheet that I have made. By the time you're watching it is quite likely that I have also updated fully for the current meta, as it has finally started to settle down. And now let's jump into VOD review with a pro. For our VOD review, we are going to be jumping in game with Wasian Iverson, as many of the top players are keeping their streams and VODs private due to preparing for the EWC. Our gods are going to be Kale and Echo, and the encounter is Talon with a plus single re-roll on their augment selections, allowing for the possibility for players to tailor their augments. We are starting out already with a Kai's Orb, which is amazing to be playing around in this early game. Picking up a Briar, have that rogue there. This is going to be a very strong opener from ourselves, going to be most likely selling this Rast, as he simply does not do much on these early game boards, provided his value is in higher board states. Picking up a Nasus and a Veigar pair as well, but now that the Briar 2 has come in, I would believe that we are more leaning into this Primordian direction. Not going to be making it just yet, as we see there are some players going to be playing around this. This Primordian opener leading into so many lines in the current meta is a top tier one to be playing around. For our items, we should probably be noting that we are most likely having to be slamming Last Whisper right here. Not too excited to be slamming the Void Staff or the Hand of Justice in this kind of a spot. We could consider Void Staff if we had a Veigar opener, but we did not even hold on to that Poppy right there. Most likely going to be rerolling the Speedy double kill right now, as well as Heavy is the Crown and Portable Forge. Not too excited about either of these. Speedy double kill with a strong opener, but there's not that many lines that utilize that Rage Blade right now. Only one would realistically be the Kaiser that comes on top of my head. Portable Forge could provide us with some direction, could provide us with some tempo, is something that we could be considering. But this comp does not utilize artifacts that well. Heavy is the Crown. Really only seen him in a Cho reroll right now, and I don't think that is going to be our game plan. Anima Commander. Playing into that Mighty Mechlite, going for a possible high cash out is something, but since we have a possibility to play for strong opener, why not? Feed of Flames is quite nice in that aspect, it's an item, and in the early game Sunfire is a quite strong of an item in itself, while it loses some of that value later on. Now, no scout, no pivot is an offering that we would have to be scouting now to see if... we actually have to scout to see if there's not going to be some contest. Even with this augment, sometimes you simply just have to say, alright, we're calling it. If you want to contest us, it's on you. If we see a primer spot. But it seems like there's a couple of players. Now, neatest thing to note that, yeah, you can see he has called out Primordian as ready from this option. And it seems that there was a player with Fortified Show, and he just went with Earth. Now, quickly about mentioning the Backblind Blueprint that we have offered right now. That only has a few options, and the only real higher option in the game right now is that Voyager emblem right there. The other ones you have possibility for rogues that are going to be forcing you to do a rogue reroll, and the Sniper emblem that you're not too excited about, and there was one more, but it's generally the weakest of the emblem augments that I've seen, and he has opted to go with Earths, reminiscent of the last patch where people were just taking Earths and slamming that Nami. In a similar case right here, we are only realistically now taking it to be going into this Darkstar line, as otherwise the investment that you're making, especially on 2-1, into getting a single spatula from the augment, and obviously a little bit of mana gem, but that's not that worthwhile. Plus you have to invest another component into it, is not that worth it, especially after the emblem nerfs. But now we're going to be going for that tempo option as we're able to pick up a win, and we do get a Mordekaiser too. Now our front line is going to be extremely beefy, since we are also able to pick up that Nasus, and we have a Kaisa pair. This is just Wasian shop showing up right now. We should be extremely strong, even though we had locked our direction pretty much in beforehand. And hopefully we are going to be able to go for a win streak. This is the case. Well, we identified that we had the potential for a very strong opener, and obviously it just got incredibly stronger, but this is kind of a spot you would want to be taking this emblem augment, right? When you are recognizing that you're going to be able to tempo early and hopefully make it to that level 9. Now if you went for Kale here, we would be able to slam that Darkstar Emblem right away, having a free bow, not too shabby. Could also be considering just simply slamming the Giant Slayer as well. But we probably would not want to gambling on getting another sword, and provides potential for a 4 Darkstar spike earlier. Echo here would be a delayed value, so and double components is going to be generally higher tempo for ourselves, so going to be going with that. And yeah, we have that Cho'Gath that we want to be carrying around, so we could be just leveling to 5 and going for that 5 streak. I do not think anyone is going to be able to contest us for that 5 streak, as long as our backline is going to be sufficient. But the Briar 2 should not be discouraged due to her being so strong with that emblem as well. Queuing into Virus's Obsession talent, I'm interested to see what this player has been noting with the blue buff IE Slam. This seems more of a that they would want to also be playing into some form of a Kaisa board, but the Virus's Obsession doesn't exactly lead in that possibility. It could be maybe some form of a Riven Quirky land, but we can see also Asian reacting here that this is just absolutely nasty. 2-starring the Kaiser right now, already on to 6. That is absolutely incredible. Obviously, extreme gold investment. If we are unable to streak with this board, then we are in a very bad position, as we have to be making this gold back right now. And the 9 gold into a single unit right there, 6 gold in the Mordekaiser, and the rest of the board is also worth 7 gold. So that's 22 gold worth board. That's incredible. Now we see that he has the Kazaya right there, but he's going to be tagging that out. We are most likely not be playing into the Kazaya variant, and carrying her around from this point of on would be insane. Absolutely incredible shops, obviously, but still, we're going to be seeing just how well Asians managed to execute this form of a line. Going to be slamming that blue buff, the best mana item if you're going to be going. The reason why blue buff is better since it buffs the base stats, and the Darkstar is going to give us base stats, the Rogue is going to give us base stats. It's going to synergize with them nicely. Our units absolutely love having more and more stats. Into a Prowler's Claw, that's going to be playing into that Urgot line, playing around those Timebreakers it seems, or some kind of Arbiter, just trying to get their econ up. Generally, regarding this meta, if you are being forced to lost streak, you will want to be ending up in some form of a 3-cost reroll, so you can win out the last 2 fights on stage 3, and then hopefully able to spike your board. Jeweled Lotus here should be appealing option, would nicely synergize with our crit item slam there, and we could just simply be slamming the Shojin for another form of a mana gen item that's going to nicely transition on the bar, playing an open rod. Or we could be slamming Morello as well if we wanted to sort out anti-heal. Kahuna Huda, we are not exactly auto attack heavy comp, so that's going to be that strong for ourselves. Arcane Victory, we're not going to be gaining in this comp that much value from the second part. This is going to be greater in the stall comps. We want fights to be over before 15 seconds, pretty much already decided. So I would be leaning Jeweled Lotus right now, a strong combat option to synergize with our augments and keep pushing tempo. Heroic Grabbag would be a tempo augment in this kind of a line. Otherwise, obviously, into reroll lines, could just use those dupes on your Kaisa to try to push tempo. Salvage Bin, nice for extra items, and in 3-2 it could be quite decent. We could be trying to look to sort to perhaps our support of a frontline item as well. I would be having a tough decision with these two since we have made a component investment, but we have the Kale God, so since this Jeweled Lotus is simply going to provide an immense amount of power on this guy, so he's probably going to be leaning into that, and it seems so. Seraphim Staff, not exactly what we're looking for, and this is going to be our best option, going to be pushing our levels to level 6, but we do not exactly have a strong in, going to be tacking in that Meepsy right now, as she can synergize with the Lysandra and with the Ilawi that we can simply replace the Nasus for to get our 3 Shepherd in as another form of a frontline for our stage 4. So we're going to be just simply 100 streaking from this kind of a spot, as the rest of the lobby is going to be on the delayed spikes and everything here with the Teemo reroll going right there. Now obviously you're not going to be handed this kind of a spot in most of your games, but we can see that with the boards we're facing, even on Kaisa 1 we could have been extremely strong as long as we had these frontline upgrades that are that unlikely to be hit here. Generally, obviously, we must be avoiding rolling, but if you are on a couple of pairs, especially on a win streak, you might want to considering rolling a couple of times to find your upgrades. And again, you can utilize something like a free rolls from Ari to be fishing for at Kaisa 2, as Kaisa 2 is extremely strong. She's essentially a forecast in disguise at this moment. For our next god selection, again, if we wanted to continue pushing our tempo, we could be considering this scale right there. Simply summoning the crown guard is not that bad of an option. Otherwise, if we want to be making a little bit of extra econ, since we're going for a fast 9 board, Skullpar is going to be quite nice here, and we are investing in combat augments and item augments right now. So Skullpar could be a guaranteed way, so we could provide a little bit of an extra econ influx, and the bow is not bad of an option, but he's going to be evaluating having that extra item tempo, since we do not have a frontline item right now. The way we can lose in this stage is by not having a durable enough of a frontline, and the Kaisa 2 is going to be strong enough on that front. We have this upgraded Mordekaiser, so this is the thing again, if you're investing into upgraded units, in quite a lot of cases you simply do want them to be itemized, right? The majority of units power is going to be coming from the items on him, and sometimes people wonder why they lose an upgraded full upgraded board. Well, the thing is, your upgraded units do not have items, they're not going to be doing that much all around. Into a Gnar board that's most likely playing into seems to be some form of a Zaya variant right there, able to clean them up, as this guy is just absolutely nasty, especially if you haven't positioned her on the weak side. She gets those resets and just simply permacasts. Amoeb C2 comes from our shop. This guy simply does not need to roll. He's going to be finding all the upgrades just naturally from these spots. We see that there's a Briar 3 there. We want to be away from that as well, and we're kind of worried about it, so we're going to be leveling for another unit right there, but we are able to dodge them, so his streak should be quite fine. Playing into some form of an AP board that has already karma on them, but they're going to be a rough spot. This is what's going to happen in this meta, especially if you're playing around the AP carries. You do not really have that much of a direction, and with Birthday Reunion, they want to be making their way to level 9. You have the possibility to tempo in the mid game, but your stage 4 is going to be extremely whiffy, and if your streak breaks and you end up with like 70 HP, you're going to be having a rough time making it to the level 9. Getting more rods that are not exactly what we wish to be seeing into this line. Could simply be opting to slam either Jeweled Gauntlet for the Bard or go with the Steadfast and Ionic Spark. Complete 3 item Mordekaiser are going to be quite decent. Going to be going for an extremely aggressive level here to the level 8. Now we absolutely want to be winning this fight, and yeah, it seems we're going with the Spark Slam. Going to be holding onto this glove, as I would assume we want this to become something like a Striker's Flare or whatever, and perhaps identify that we do not really need to be slamming. And this is, I believe, this is the player that we leveled for, and we were able to win against him, so that's amazing for ourselves. Cybernetic Uplink, I don't think this is something that we will be realistically. Cybernetic Implants is going to be a little bit stronger option, since we are generally AD focused. The Jin is going to be mana locked during his cast, and the Kai's mana generation is not that important. This would be only more in these AP lines. Best friends, we will have a little bit of rough time positioning this with our black holes. Now, I believe that they do not interrupt this, so you have the possibility to be just simply placing a couple of pair and then the black hole and a couple of pair again. But we would have to make sure that the lobby is AB heavy. He seems to be defaulting Cybernetic Uplink, that's interesting. Climb the Ladder also is not a bad option, but we are going to be doubling down on base stats now. Trait already provides base stats, so maybe not exactly what you're looking for. Exiles would be decent option to provide some more frontline for ourselves. These are all interesting choices. I'm interested to see what he's going for. Sunfire board, I do not believe we have sorted out our anti-heal, so that would not be a bad option either. I'm interested what his reasoning is by holding onto this defaulting Cybernetic Uplink. Plot armor is nice to further empower our frontline, especially right now for this stage. This Kaisa 2 should be able to cramp our way up quite significantly. But he's still the default on the Cybernetic Uplink option. Alright, healing orbs more in your melee comps and your solo frontline comps. Could be, yeah, I believe that we are going to be fishing for econ right now, since we are so poor right now and we do not have an econ engine in sight. We were finally able to find that explosive growth, so now we are going to be in a nice spot to make it to level 9 as well. Have made an investment on holding on to another Kaisa 2. Kaisa 3 is one of your potential win conditions, so we're going to be going there. Now that these reroll boards have started command line, unfortunately our streak is going to get snapped. We have tossed in the Mighty Mech and we have tossed in the Tree Shepherd. So our board is quite strong for this stage nonetheless. Obviously not expecting to win that many fights, but again, Kaisa 2 is extremely strong. So we should be sufficient to at least kill quite a few units and not bleed out too much. This is the other thing you always have to observe when playing those fast 9 boards. You cannot just be openly sacking your stage 4. You need to be killing units, otherwise you're going to be rolling up on 5-1 with like maximum 2 lives and be wondering, well, I did not have time to transition my board, therefore I lost. For our last god selection, we have already aligned ourselves with a Kale, the form of Rageblade, another rod, not exactly what they're looking for. Sword, nice, completed item, nice. Unless he's definitely be locking into the bard line from there. If he picks that, could be a jeweled gauntlet and an open sword for... Well, not excited to slam Titans, then we have the Void Staff, the Shred sorted out. So... I would assume, yeah, he's going to the full item anvil right now. Able to pick up an Alawi pair. And finding that Karma right now, so going to be transitioning into 6 Darkstar finally. One of the reasons why we were lolling on this stage. Still very poor. Going to be going onto that Bard primary and slamming that IE despite having Jeweled Lotus. Having that crit sorted out to the maximum value and having more crit damage, but this Surgot with this Prowler's Claw is absolutely nasty, fully able to clean up our board, and they also have that Maokai 3 to hold down the fort. Still not making 10, opting to hold for the strongest board. We're going to let the Explosive Glue do the heavy lifting right there, and we can see we already only 18 XP away. Still a little bit shy on what we would ideally want, but it's going to have to suffice for ourselves. Fully funneling our damage into the throw, hopefully the weakest sides. Now we do get into the Nunu2, so it's going to be quite hard, and we see that, but that's a Graves one in the backline only. Playing for that fast 9 board for them, you can see it does not exactly work out when you're going to be having a shabby mid-game. Leveled to 9 and died the K3 Soju special. Looking to ideally have a couple of either a single component or 3 components that could hopefully complete some form of an item for ourselves. This could become a Striker's Flare and a Bramble Vest, but are we excited about a Bramble Vest? We are not working with that much gold, so I guess we just simply have to take it. Find a Mighty Mech 2, going to be leveling to 9, but we are only we are without a gold, and we have not seen a Jin yet. We can see nicely worked out the itemization, better than I spotted. We had that possibility to be slamming the Steadfast, having the Sunfire sorted out. And this is going to be, even though we had that high roll opener, we ran into some econ issues, right? That was what happens. You invest in your board, and even going on a 10 streak, or maybe it was 11 streak. It was quite rough at the time to be sorting that out. We made a lot of investments in our board to get on that streak, and as such, without an econ augment, you're going to be having a little bit of a harder time, as also you're investing your gold selections right here in the items. So now that we are going to be wanting our chase our 2 stars, we're going to be perhaps sacking a little bit here. This is why you want to be slotting generally a econ engine onto that stage for Tom Kench. If you find that, you're fine. Otherwise, you might want to be holding on to some of those cheaper Timebreaker units to slot them in for that stage 4. Get some free rerolls, especially you're going to be probably losing, so you can get a couple of rerolls each turn. Or maybe now it was even 3 after the changes. I don't recall exactly, but you're going to be quite strong in that front. Going to be going with, I believe, the Striker's Flail just to get more damage onto this Bard. Bard is not the necessity really of mana items that much. Obviously, Nasher's Tooth is fine as there was a Tempo Slam for ourselves, but he can get to that cast quite a while, and then during his channel, he's not obviously getting mana. You can see 3 auto attacks even there. I believe he would have gotten to the fourth without the Striker's Flail, so that's completely fine on pace as well. Next item that we could be looking for, even more AD items if you want to be getting to that Jin. Able to find the Karma right there, so we have to be in a position to be playing, the Ilawi 2 right there, have to be playing around some of the cheaper variation for our frontline, as we want to be investing in our damage units primarily. Transitioning utility to the single tank and have a Mighty Mech here being the big pickup. This is why it's nice to also be playing around the Mighty Mech, generally a not so contested of a unit in the meta. And we are sitting on 7 Kaises as well as a possibility. Finding that Karma 2, I'm not exactly sure if that's a worthwhile investment at this point, unless we're going to be transitioning items to her. Like, she's not going to be doing that much for our board, and having that extra 8 free gold when we are so still chasing so much is Sometimes might want to avoid, but he's simply on a streak again, and he's going to be evaluating every single upgrade. Able to clean up another Primordian board right there, and we are going to be extremely strong and securing our top 4 from this fight. And now this is pretty much our game to lose. We can see that these reroll boards are not capping as high as this board possibly can, even though on low gold to actually invest in units, we are very strong into this aspect, and this bar with this emblem is absolutely nasty over carry as well. I'm going to be hopefully fishing for a Jin to find a Blitz too, so going to be making that as a possibility. That's completely fine. Can transition some of these utility items on him. That's going to be okay. Tossing that Spear of Shojin just to get an extra mana cast. And whenever you see these extremely strong solo front lines, if you have some mana item and a Blitz, you have the possibility to be placing them, which is going to help you nicely. But we can see just the power of this this Kaisa unit right now. He hit it on 2-6 and she's still on his board, being the main carry, absolutely wrecking terror. And now we are in a 1v1 for our final slot. We have managed to pick up the Bard too as our duo carry, and obviously the Blitz, but that's not going to be doing that much damage with these itemizations. We can drop this Meepsy right now, but fine, the Voyager Shield is going to be nice. The damage jump is also quite decent, going to be preferred, and we're going against this insane Urgot, and let's see, is this Kaisa 2 actually show busted that she's able to do it? The Bard is able to take out the tank with the extra damage jump he gets, and the Kaisa retargets on the Urgot, and we're able to pick up the win as the Urgot did not snipe our backline. Very well played game by Wasian Iverson, obviously enabled through some of these high roll shops, but capitalizing, slamming the items, not blundering the spot, and then just simply displaying the incredible strength of this Kaisa unit that she is able to get to our cap board, slotting that AP carry right there out with the Bard, and then just being flexible whatever we have. As we are in a low raw gold situation, we have to do so what we can. Able to pick up a win and displaying the high potential of this comp. As you can note, we did not even hit our 2-star Jin, so our cap is still, we still have quite a lot of place to grow, and in the lobbies with a little bit less of a pressure, you're going to be able to get there. I would like to thank you for watching. Hope that you learned something new. All the cheat sheets, meta read are going to be available in the link down below, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.